Welcome everyone to our October Committee of the Whole meeting. We have full council in attendance today. Councillor Link from Ward 1, Councillor Bussetti from Ward 2, Councillor Craig from Ward 4, and Councillor Kleiber from Ward 3, as I see you on my screen. Our CAO, Brent Alnick, and RM of West St. Paul is our Municipal Legislative Officer, Lainey Shaw. Welcome everyone. For those watching who might not be familiar, our Committee of the Wholes are meetings to discuss issues, consider issues, and make recommendations for council meetings. We do not make decisions or have resolutions of council at our Committee of the Whole meetings, therefore further discussion on issues and updates from administration. We have everyone in attendance. I'll call the meeting to order. And first up this evening, we have RCMP Sergeant Daryl Catelier of our Red River North Detachment presenting the summer quarterly report. When he was last with us, he presented the spring quarter report. And today he is walking on his report for council, finishing up at the last minute to present to us today. So this will be added to the agenda after for residents and council to be able to look at in detail. And Lainey will present and have that up on screen. Sergeant Catelier, you're with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So would you like me to get started first?
Sure, yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm hoping everybody's received the statistics that I forwarded this morning.
Ms. Shaw has them and she's going to walk us through them on the screen, and then everybody will get them after the meeting.
Okay. I can, oh, there we go. I can highlight the more important ones, which is the total calls for the quarter, which was 100 more than a year ago. So we had 594 calls for service during this report period, compared to 494 last year. The most significant ones, I guess, would be the provincial traffic charges, so speeding and those types of charges in the RM of West St. Paul, which was at 227, which is 23 more than last year. Collisions up a little bit more than last year. We're at 2 with injuries and 6 property damage. The other ones that are quite significant, I guess, would be the assaults, which were 1 last year, and we had 7 during this reporting period for the summer. And also theft of property. The theft of property under was up to 8 this year compared to 4 last year, and the over is 3, which is down from 4 a year ago. However, the theft of vehicles, which is cars, trucks, and SUVs, anything of in that category, is up to 5 from 2 last year. And I reviewed most of them on our database this morning, and the majority of them are vehicles that, unfortunately, the keys are usually left inside in the ignition, or a couple of them they're hidden inside. So a lot of those are preventable. So we might be looking at perhaps reminding the residents to make sure they hide their keys, because sometimes people do go around just looking for the easiest vehicle to steal. Break and enters to residences, we had 2 over the summer compared to 4 last year, and 3 break and enters to businesses. We also, I don't have it listed here, but I guess it would be depending on the property, under, over, the value of it. I guess we had several theft of trailers this summer that we're currently investigating, and should have accused in custody soon or charged with those. And that's it at the moment, unless there's anything that stands out there on the report for anybody that they have questions.
Great, thank you. I will go around our council table and see if there are any questions for you. Thanks for the report. Councillor Link, any questions for Sergeant Catelier?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have any questions for Sergeant Catelier at this point, but I would like to comment later to you about the issue of adding to the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Busetti, any questions?
No, thank you.
Councillor Kleiber, any questions?
To the constable through you. Is it right? Am I doing the constable? I hope I don't want to insult anybody of the right.
Sergeant?
Sergeant, thank you.
No problem.
Okay. I noticed that you had quite a few reports on suspicious vehicles. Did any of those pan out to be anything?
Yeah, if it just stays as a suspicious vehicle or persons, like if it's reported there as the number is 38. If we do come across people that, you know, are in possession of stolen property or have just committed a break and enter, then those occurrences would be changed to a break and enter. So the 38 there are either we found the people and they weren't suspicious at all, they're just parked with their vehicle, or they're out for a walk that somebody thought was suspicious, or we never found the suspicious vehicle, they were gone by the time we got there. So yeah, those 38 means we either didn't solve them or they were nothing.
Okay, thank you. Also, theft of property. Just wondering, how do, like, we get a number, but we're also hearing, you know, people are moving out to West St. Paul because there's less crime, right? So what I'm wondering is, when we look at theft of property, where do we fit in? And you don't have to name them, but with other RMs, are we about the same? Are we higher? Are we lower? Where do we fit in that case?
As far as the RMs in this area right here, or
Yeah,
throughout the yeah,
neighboring RMs.
in this particular area around the perimeter, I would say it's the same. As you go a little further north, it increases somewhat, especially in and around Selkirk. But I would say as far as East St. Paul, West St. Paul, Rosser and Headingley, in those areas, they're very similar areas. And yes, people do come out to our areas and commit these break and enters and thefts. So there's nothing to indicate that they're much lower or much higher than other municipalities.
Okay, and then the only other thing I was going to ask you is, on the theft of property, does it seem to be in one area? For example, is it more on the road to Selkirk on Main Street and confined into those areas, or is it evenly spread throughout the RM?
It's evenly spread throughout the RM, especially depending on, you know, especially the theft of property from new houses that are getting built, some building material. And then there's also, you know, trailers and vehicles. They're pretty random. It wouldn't be straight up number 9 or number 8 or anything. It's spread all over the area. And sometimes we'll have a theft in East St. Paul, and at the same time, same suspects in West St. Paul. So they generally they drive around and find their spot, whether it's during the day or night, and we do our best to get them, obviously, and we are solving some for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you for answering those questions for me.
No problem.
Councillor Pereg, any questions for Sergeant Catelier?
Questions, but like to thank the Sergeant for his report. And I know, Sergeant, you can pick up a suspect in Selkirk, and that one suspect is responsible for a number of break-ins in East St. Paul and West St. Paul. Am I correct?
Yes, correct. They do travel around, and they don't respect the borders, anything like that. So we have apprehended individuals in the past in certain municipalities, but that night they've clearly committed several break and enters. Yes.
Yes, I know during the interview process, these persons, they cop out to other break and enters. Depends how the investigation goes.
Yes, exactly. We've had not necessarily in West St. Paul, but as a detachment, Selkirk and Red River North, we have had pulling over a vehicle that's responsible for break and enters in every every municipality, all the way to Steinbach, which was a recent one that we had.
Yes, thank you so much. And just, I know there's always a limited number of personnel at these districts. And I just want to thank them for the efforts they're putting in. Your men
Thank-
under your command. Please extend our thanks and our gratitude to them.
Thank you very much. I will let them know.
Well said, Deputy Pereg. Only one comment from me. I just wanted to thank you as well, and to thank you for following up on the cars parked along Main Street. I know there were a number of calls on there, and it's just not safe for vehicles to be parked on the highway. So I do want to thank you for following up and keeping an eye on that. It became a bit of a problem over there, so I do appreciate that you're following up on that for us.
No problem. We had another one today. I just wanted to clarify, is this the construction crews that are parking there, or is this residents?
No, it's residents in the multifamily unit, and they'll park their business trucks, large trucks, and then there's been cars parked, and it's overnight, so it's not just a stop and get something or pull over. And so we've received a number of complaints and directed them to report to you on overnight vehicles parked there for additional parking. So.
Okay, yeah, we'll continue to monitor that, and especially during the nighttime. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. And thank you and your team for all of the work that you do in our municipality. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Bussetti.
Just regarding that area where they're parking, like there was 7 vehicles out there last night and still 4 of them there this morning. And I think there's still 1 sitting there from last night. So it just makes it hard. They try to park so close to the entrance to that development where people can't even pull out in the morning. So.
Okay. Yeah, I told my constables on before the weekend there to start handing out tickets in that area. So hopefully people get the message and it'll end soon.
I think some tickets and they'll get the message. It's been conversations on social media, and you hope that people see that are living here and go, I better not park my car there, but that's not happening. So we really appreciate you and your guys following up on that. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And those are all the questions and comments from us. We just want to thank you again for bringing your report to council. We really appreciate that. It's really important for our residents to see the reports, hear your reports, and for us to touch base with you as well. So thank you so much for making yourself available.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too. All right, are we ready to go on then? Our next item is 4.4.2. Mobility Disadvantaged Transportation Program Wheelchair Service of Manitoba, the service agreement. And that is attached here. Everybody's had a chance to review the service agreement. And Mr. CAO, to you or to Ms. Shaw, if there's anything further to add.
MLO, please, Ms. Shaw.
Okay, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Council has received an administration report. What's happening is that our contract with Wheelchair Service of Manitoba is nearing its completion. It ends in December of 2021. Per the contract, we can do an extension of the term, and that is what I've brought to Council. We have reached out to Wheelchair Service to see if they were interested in continuing providing this service for us. They have proposed a small increase. This would be the first increase to rates since we've used their services, which is 2008, the beginning of our program. As you can see on the chart, it's $2 increase one way, and the administration fee is unchanged. So we have proposed a recommendation to council to extend the service agreement for 3 years, which would end December of 2024. We have an administration report with proposed resolution on the October 14th regular planning meeting of council. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Shaw. I'll go around our council table here and see if there are any questions for you. Councillor Bersetti, any questions?
No, it was, the report was pretty straightforward, showing the increase, which is gonna happen with the way fuel prices and stuff are going up and insurance. So, no, I thank you for that.
Thank you. Councillor Kleiber, any questions to Ms. Shaw?
No, thank you.
Councillor Prague?
No questions, straightforward report, and as Councilor Sadie said, the increase of gas is going to go up phenomenally, and it's best we tied it down to the 3 years. Thanks.
Thank you. And Councillor Link, any questions for Ms. Shaw?
No, thank you for your report, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you. Just one question for me. Thank you for a detailed report. This is excellent. I just had a question regarding the number of users in West St. Paul. I have heard lots of people mention that they have used it, or I've connected people to have them fill out applications. About how many users do we have of the program?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have over 250 registered users in the system, and we average between 30 and 50 billings per month. So it's a well-used service for our residents.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. That is more than I thought. So that's excellent to be able to help people. No increase in all of this time. And I know that this was something that the community was really proud to have brought in 2008. So it's great that we can continue to offer that. And that as seniors downsize to smaller housing, even though we don't have public transportation, we do have handy van to be able to help get people to their appointments. So if anybody is viewing and needs this service, it is excellent. So thank you, Ms. Shaw. And again, this comes to our October 14th meeting for a resolution. Thanks so much. All right, our next item on the agenda is 4.5.1, requests for service reports.
4.4.1,
4.4.1.
general bylaw enforcement.
Sorry, thank you. 4.4.1, general bylaw enforcement. Mr. CEO, I'll turn that over to you.
I just wanted to give council a heads up that we're going to be having legal come in the near future to talk about bylaw enforcement and our general enforcement bylaws going to be looking for an upgrade to allow us to bring things to solutions faster to the RM with some of the enforcement that's going on. So you can expect that the probably we'll be having a special meeting within the next 2 weeks on the general bylaw, and the legal will be walking through it.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any comments regarding the general enforcement bylaw? Thank you for the heads up. At least lets us know that that's coming and we'll be reviewing that. Seeing no comments or questions, go ahead, Councillor Link.
Sorry, I thought you were going to go around the table. On the map, the service tracker reports, I see a red dot over Larders at St. Andrew's Golf Club. That can't be our request for service, I don't think.
Sorry, Councillor Link, we're just on item 4.41, general enforcement bylaw. The CEO just gave us a heads up that he's going to be bringing a general enforcement bylaw at a special meeting coming up. We're not quite there yet.
I apologize. Thank you also for the heads up. Okay, I thought it was related to this report. My mistake. Sorry.
No problem. Any other comments regarding the general enforcement bylaw coming to council? Okay. Thank you for the reminder, Mr. C. I almost missed that one. All right, 4.5.1, requests for service reports this quarter from July to September. And we have all of the attached reports. Mr. CEO, is there anything else that you're wanting to add?
Council, this is a report submitted by Request for Service team, and we had in July to September, we had 147 requests. 48 were open and 99 were closed. As you could see as you walk down, 40% of, and not surprisingly in the summer with all the construction going on in West St. Paul, 40% of the requests for services were for public works and 34% for bylaws. 10%, I'll just name the top three because that takes up 85% almost of our reports are garbage and recycling. And as people got used to the change in with the new garbage and recycling program, the reports are starting to go down. So when you go into some of the details for public works, out of the 60 complaints, road maintenance repairs were 25% of those complaints. So that's where most of our complaints were. And for bylaw, we had 15 general bylaw enforcement complaints. So this is fairly similar to last year. We're actually a little bit down in requests for services, and following up, if there's any questions, Madam Mayor, I can speak to general questions on this.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillor Link, I'll start with you. I know you had a question. We'll begin with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just looked at this, I think it's page 3 with all the little dots to show where the complaints are coming from. And it looks like there's a one coming from Larders at St. Andrews Golf Club. And that must be, perhaps that's an error.
That's most likely something that's on the border of West St. Paul and it's just showing up at Larders of St. Andrews.
Okay. Also, Mr. CAO, if we look at the number of the statistics, you have open 48, closed 99. So that meant that 51 complaints from maybe the previous months were closed during this time period. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Councillor Kleiber, any questions regarding the report statistics?
No questions. I sent an email to the CEO regarding an issue that I'd like you to maybe get back to me on. I think there's a misunderstanding with some people in the community. So anyways, I sent it to you, so we'll chat later. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pereg, any questions, comments regarding the request for service?
No, I know at first the recycling there and the grass clippings were a problem, a lot of phone calls. And as time went on, people got adjusted to it and things have been slowing down. And all for council to think about it, beginning of summer, people do a lot of raking of their grasses, and so we have to view that at the end of summer, that people rake their leaves and so on, they get it on the sidewalk for 2 weeks. It's sitting on the sidewalks. You know, we have to revisit that. Like, think about early spring and late spring, if it can be increased from once a week And then later on in the summer, it goes down back to every 2 weeks. And I think people will understand that because at the beginning of spring, a lot of cleanup, at the end of spring, a lot of cleanup. So it's a food for thought for the rest of council to think about. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Prague. Excellent. I agree. And I'm not sure when that could be revisited, but Mr. CEO, if that's something that could be looked into to extend and have some extra times early and later, that's excellent, Councillor Prague. I think that that would alleviate a lot of the complaints and concerns. It's spring and fall, and everybody's doing their leaves at that time. So great comments. Councillor Bisetti?
No comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just want to commend new staff. Riley was promoted and this is new staff working on this. So great job for first report. Looks excellent. I also just want to once again commend staff on the noxious weed and weed issue in general. That's been a lot of complaints that I can see have declined about cutting weeds. I know there's still some noxious weed complaints, but we were getting complaints about cutting weeds in a timely manner. And I don't think I received one complaint this year, and I always receive complaints. So kudos to you and staff on that for getting on that early. It was addressed and we didn't have weeds on people's yards 6 feet high before someone got out and cut it. So I want to thank you for that. That was great. That's part of this process, is to identify issues and then find ways to solve them and not have as many complaints. So great work on that front. Those are all my comments. And if there's no other on the request for service quarterly report, then we have new business, and that is the RM of Headingley invite, item 6.1. RM of Headingley invite to a meeting of the Winnipeg Metro Region member municipalities regarding the regional plan. And so the email that our CAO received is attached, requesting our attendance at a meeting October 18th, 2 p.m. in Headingley. Member municipalities of the Winnipeg Metro Region are invited, excluding Winnipeg Metro Region staff and executive. And so the content of that to discuss Plan 2050 and Bill 37 is their plan. So bringing that to council, Mr. CEO, if there's anything else that you're wanting to add.
I just want to add that what you're seeing here is the mayor alerted to council to some issues at the Metro Region, Winnipeg Metro Region, which is formerly called the Capital Region, so surrounding municipalities. So the mayor alerted council, and council followed suit, and this team here, this council here, was the first council in the Winnipeg Metro Region to see some very big concerns with the report 2050 and Bill 37. And it was around that time that our council, with the mayor as their spokesperson, went to WMR and asked for some changes or to address some concerns. It didn't happen. So further, the council of West St. Paul suspended our operations pending changes at WMR. About months later, and now we're into a couple of years later, the other RMs are starting to see what's going on with this report and the problems it's going to cause for the RMs, and some of the concerns are related to this report will be wanting to double densities in three regions for sure in the Capital Region: Headingley, East St. Paul, and West St. Paul. So our RM is comfortable with the densities that we are doing now, and they even bring concerns from some people. So doubling up the densities and making them the population twice as dense, and ask for more multifamily, more apartments to that. Some of the other RMs are coming on board now, and I've seen that East St. Paul has suspended their operations. Headingley is very concerned, and the majority of municipalities in the WMR are very concerned. So this has moved forward. Bill 37 is is moving forward. It's been proclaimed. And Plan 2050 is being adopted by the province for the planning board. So this is full steam ahead, and concerns from local regions about this report, where our council felt that transparency and public engagement wasn't happening to the extent it could. So now we're trying to catch up with all these other RMs are trying to catch up with West St. Paul and some of the issues that are taking place here, and that's what's going to be going on in Headingley. So it's related to Bill 37 and Focus 2050. So they've invited all of council, and I believe they're allowing each mayor in the capital region 5 minutes to speak on this, and it'll be a 2-hour meeting.
Thank you, Mr. CAO. I will go around the table and see if there's any points for discussion. Councillor Prague, any points for discussion on this?
Yeah, seeing that Madam Mayor will be speaking, please take into consideration that the report that was done by an outside thing that reflects that our population increase will be far lesser. Some municipalities will be losing people, and you cannot have an outside agency that doesn't know the area to do a report. And bringing somebody from outside that don't have a clue is not beneficial for the rest of the communities, the surrounding communities. And that's one of the major concerns I have, because when the federal government is giving out money to the municipalities, it counts the population. And if you give them a data that we have 100 people, that we increase of 100 people, and whereas we have 5,000 people, then the transfer of the money from the federal government is less, because they go on that data that they received. So we have to emphasize that at the meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Prague. Absolutely, I've noted that. We only get 5 minutes to speak, and I think that's a huge point for us to raise. And I'm not sure all of the municipalities are aware of that. Some of them have made comments that that information and data will just be corrected. But it needs to be corrected immediately, and there needs to be pressure on the province to have accurate data. That information talked about in the next 30 years, Selkirk only growing by 10 people, West St. Paul not growing at all. That in the next 30 years, we'd be at, I think the estimates were 7,000. Our population right now is over 6,700. Their data is way off.
East St. Paul declining population.
East St. Paul declining by 100 and something in the next 30 years. And so the impact of that is when East St. Paul wants to get wastewater funding, they're not going to get it. They're not growing in population, they're declining. When we want to help our residents and grow programs at Sonova Center, we're not going to be getting funding because our population is not growing the way that they
according to Plan 2050.
According to Plan 2050, but we know and have data that suggests otherwise. So absolutely right, Councillor Prague, and we need to make that really clear and have the other municipalities advocating in the same way.
I think you just have to drive down the street.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The basements in the ground show the reports are wrong. Thank you. Councillor Kleiber, any comments for discussion on the meeting?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Link.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I have a question for the CAO through the Mayor. Grants received by the RM are often based on a per capita basis. How does the government, Mr. CAO, get the data? Do they get the data for the grants from the RM or from some other source?
Well, in this case, the government gets the grants from two places. Short-term grants for the federal government would come through, they would probably refer to the census, but our first level of grants are coming from the province, and the province is adopting 2050 and Bill 37. So for instance, we'll use wastewater. to expand our wastewater further, we're looking for 50% grants. So census data doesn't tell the story, because census data only, it's short term, right? It's every 6 years. What they need to do is they need to look out, should we spend $20 million in West St. Paul on a wastewater plant, or trails, or a new road, transportation demands, how you might be changing your development plan for where you're going to have different zoning. So they need to look out 20 years or 30 years, and they'll be looking to plan 2050, and the province will be sitting down. They'll look at 2050, and 2050 says West St. Paul. I mean, 2050. What they've actually said is, and I'll give the example of West St. Paul and Selkirk. 2050 says from last year that West St. Paul would grow by about 240 people, I believe it was, in the next 30 years. Well, we've grown by about 240 people over the last 6 months. So we've already grown as much as they feel that we'll grow in the next 30 years. In the case, the other one that stands out to me is I find Selkirk to be a really vibrant community that's doing some unique, good, positive things. They're involved in climate things that are really above the trend, leading edge, very vibrant community. And I think the 2050 report stated they will grow by 10 people in the next 30 years. So, I mean, that's how they'll do that report. In federal government, they will sit down and they want to look out 20 or 30 years. So that's the only data that you have. They won't call the RM.
You're still on mute, Councillor Link.
Sorry, I apologize. Currently, the province uses the previous census. And the previous census was just updated a little while ago. And of course, there's no figures out to show what the population of our area was. So currently, though, the province uses census data. And the plan is to switch over and use 2050 data? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
If the province wants to know, if you're doing a large capital project, it's millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars, they're not going to look at the census. Right now, the only census is from 2015. The next census going to be out is for 2021. They look at reports like 2050, and the mayor referred to a Stevenson report, so it was commissioned by the province. They have to look way out into the future. So what they're saying is this 2050 report is going to be the document that they look at, the planning Bible of what you'll plan for in the future. So if you're looking at provincially or federally at the province of Manitoba and saying, where do you put your federal or provincial funding? It's not going to be coming to anywhere north of the city, because as far as this report is concerned, the north of the city is shrinking, and that's not what we're seeing. And the report is very positive for south of the city of Winnipeg, and I'm already seeing funding issues at the provincial where I'm talking to them, and they're there. Well, we need to go where the growth is, and drive around West St. Paul, you'll see where the growth is, and they go, well, according to reporting we're seeing, they're already looking at 2050. The growth is all going to the south. It's not going to the north.
Thank you.
Councillor Bisetti, any questions, comments?
Yeah, I guess more of a comment. I think it should be brought up that, the municipal consultation effort that they say they took on this, if that was that meeting we had with, our region through the planning board, where they had 5 municipalities and 20 minutes to, for us to have comments on that, I think that's a pretty poor consultation effort on their part. So I think that's a real big thing that we need to push, is for proper consultation to have the real numbers. That's my biggest thing. Thank you.
Agree. Winnipeg Metro Region Executive Director and all staff have been deliberately excluded from this meeting. And that's a pretty bold statement on Headingley's part, that all of the Metro Region municipalities are included and invited to this meeting with all members of council, and WMR is not welcome. So that's a pretty bold statement, and it really speaks to the lack of consultation. And when we have had our 5 minutes consultation, they have not listened. So the impact is huge, as you guys have mentioned, on our financial, what the potential is for grants coming forward. I raised the issue at Red River Planning. Councillor Russetti was present. They came and spoke to it about how the Plan 2050 would impact land use planning and our concerns about incorrect projections of population. And the man from Toronto, who's never set foot in West St. Paul, who created the model for the population projection, said his model is based on employment. And the fact that people who live in West St. Paul aren't working in West St. Paul shows that we won't have a lot of growth in our community because there isn't as much employment opportunities in our community. And so I made it clear to him that East St. Paul, which is set to lose people, St. Andrews, which was close to 2,000 people they're supposed to lose in 30 years. The projections are so off. The population of St. Andrews is over 10,000, and you're saying that 2,000 people are going to be on an exodus in the last 30 years. So St. Andrews was livid, East St. Paul. We were all raising these concerns that we are commuter communities. We are 11 kilometers from downtown Winnipeg, and our residents often work in other communities. They work in Selkirk, they work in residence, so in Winnipeg. So I raised the issue that their model is flawed, and it wasn't changed anyway. It didn't matter to them. So we're definitely seeing the impact. East St. Paul's waiting for wastewater funding, and it's gone to other communities, the latest round to southern communities. So it is really important that they get that clear. I am looking forward to an organized effort by all of the municipalities. We were leaders on this, and I think that we took a bold step in suspending our participation, and it was the right thing to do to make sure our residents were heard. 9.7 units an acre is unacceptable. And I am getting pressure from the province now for our municipality to approve more multifamily. And that's not what our strategic plan says. That's not what we've heard from our residents. So I think it's important if we could have a more coordinated effort. City of Winnipeg Mayor Bowman has been vocal on this. We both spoke at committee on Bill 37 to the province. Headingley Mayor John spoke to the province. Selkirk's been really vocal, and other municipalities are really realizing the importance of this. So I guess I would ask in a show of hands, our CAO has to respond with numbers. Is everyone able to attend this meeting on, he has to reply by Friday and provide some numbers. Is everyone able to attend October 18th, 2 to 4 p.m.? So a show of hands for those who are able to attend, and our CO can provide some numbers on that. Okay. That's the 4 of us, Mr. CO, so you can let them know. All right. And that is it for our out of camera items. We have 2 items to deal with in camera, no resolutions. So we will just be going in camera to talk about the 2 items on the agenda. Go ahead, Councillor Link.
A comment. I'm disappointed to see, as usual, that there's no information in the agenda. No information as to what we're dealing with in the in-camera. Nothing to consider ahead of time. And wondering at the trust level here. Thank you.
Okay, I would ask, does anybody else have a concern? Councillor Prague, no. Councillor Bussetti?
We're not making any decisions here. This is where we're finding out the information before it comes to us in a regular meeting.
Thank
Yeah, I'm
you.
concerned
Councillor
about
Kleiber,
it
go
as
ahead.
well. I'm concerned about it as well. We're giving no information, not even a topic. Would be nice to have a topic when you put personnel on, even if it's sent in an email. It's happened twice before.
Okay, thank you for raising the concern. 3 members of council don't have a concern. Topics listed, but thank you for raising the concern. And we will be going in camera. everyone for your patience. We are out of camera. In camera, we discussed intersection improvements at PTH and Eames Road and a personnel matter. And that is all for our evening, for our meeting this evening. Thank you for your patience, and we will adjourn. Thank you, council, and we will see you on Thursday.